are still other issues in which we will work out when we get to the Senate on these. Some that Mr. Gohmert presented, we will still work on those issues. But I yield the balance of our time to the sponsor, Mr. Westerman of Arkansas.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop, for yielding and also for your tireless efforts to see our government do better on our federal lands. Mr. Chairman, I recently made a trip out to Montana to visit some of our national forests and the rural communities they border. These forests, much like many areas across our country, have been mismanaged for decades, and the ones that have not already been destroyed are ripe to be devastated by insects, disease, or catastrophic wildfire. Not because of some action taken by the Forest Service, but just the opposite. Because of no actions, our forests are overstocked, underutilized, and unhealthy. We've seen nearly 9 million acres of forest, an area larger than the state of Maryland, to go up in flames just this year, spewing tens of millions of tons of carbon and thick smoke into the atmosphere. Don't get me wrong. 32,000 full-time Forest Service personnel are busy and working hard trying to manage the 193 million acres of timberland across our great country, but they are spinning their wheels and making very little progress. Mr. Chairman, that's a forest the size of Texas and South Carolina combined, and according to scientists at the Forest Service, 80 million acres of that, an area the size of the state of New Mexico, is in a condition that is subject to catastrophic wildfire. These fires are not only creating a forest health crisis, they are a public health crisis. They kill trees, they kill wildlife and livestock. These fires not only kill livelihoods, they create unbearable health concerns and living conditions with their thick smoke and ash. And on top of all that, they are killing people. It shouldn't be this way, and it doesn't have to be this way. This bill simply allows sound, scientific-based forestry practices, like the ones I learned at Yale's forestry school, to be implemented on our federal forest. It will result in cleaner air, cleaner water, better wildlife habitat, better recreational opportunities, more plant and animal biodiversity, stronger economies, and fewer fires, resulting in lower fire costs. As we traveled through the beautiful countryside in Montana, I saw the symbol of our nation perched majestically atop a tree by the bank of a clear and flowing stream. This bald eagle reminded me of a fable by Aesop that described our situation today. It goes like this. An eagle was soaring through the sky when suddenly it heard the whiz of an arrow, and it felt itself wounded to death. Slowly it fluttered down to the earth with its lifeblood pouring out of it. Looking down upon the arrow with which it had been pierced, it found that the haft of the arrow had been feathered with one of its own plumes. Alas, it cried as it died, we often give our enemies the means for our own destruction. Mr. Chairman, our enemies aren't our colleagues across the aisle. Many support this bill and some are co-sponsors. Our enemies are not environmental extremists that are impeding science and causing some people to love our trees to death. Our enemy is not even the United States Senate. Mr. Chairman, our enemy is catastrophic wildfire that destroys our forest. Our enemies are insects and diseases that kill our trees, and we are feathering their arrows with inaction. We are feathering their arrows with bureaucratic red tape. We are feathering their arrows with poor policy that are killing our forest, killing our communities, and killing us every day. How much longer will we stand by and do nothing? I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to get behind this bill, pass it out of the House, and join me in relentlessly encouraging the Senate to take action. Our forests, our rural communities, our environment, and all those areas, urban and rural alike, that are breathing the smoke and ash of our once magnificent forest need us to act. Every day we delay, the problem gets worse, and the enemies of the forest are gaining ground. Please join me in this fight and pass this bill. And at this time, I wish to submit for the record, 2 letters, one from a group, 8 groups, including the Archery Trade Association, and the second from the National Association of State Foresters in support of H.R. 2936. And I yield back.
Gentleman's request be covered under general